Well, I'm sure there were some happy faces at Rugby HQ on Tuesday night when word came through that the federal government will provide funding to not only help Rugby Australia deliver the 2027 Men's Rugby World Cup, but also the 2029 Women's Rugby World Cup. But I digress. This isn't another video about rugby. Well, this one isn't, but I'm sure there will be more in due course. The reason for this video is nostalgia. You see, for 5 straight years, I was one of those lucky souls who got to spend 6 hours locked up deep in Parliament House on a chilly autumn day to pore over hundreds of papers of Treasury paperwork. This lasted until COVID changed the rules. But I got a call to have a chat on air Wednesday morning to talk with 2OCR Breakfast about this year's budget. So having spent some time reacquainting myself with the budget papers, I wanted to share my thoughts on them. That, and as budgets are something we do talk about in accounting, I thought it relevant. Given that the 4 budget papers run to many hundreds of pages long, this is less of going through them with a fine-tooth comb, but more some general observations about key elements from Tuesday night. The first observation is that things are getting better, at least from a fiscal perspective, certainly since the Mid-Year Economic Fiscal Outlook, or MYEFO. MYEFO is an update, usually provided in December. In the just over 3 months since then, the expected total deficit over the next 4 years has reduced from nearly $309 billion to only $225 billion. Before we go further, it's useful to understand the causes of this change. The first is that the government makes decisions, for example, cutting fuel excise by 50%. This will reduce the amount of income the government is expected to receive by $2.9 billion. You'll find the details of these decisions in Budget Paper 2, Budget Measures. The second is that the underlying assumptions change. Budgets are documents about the future, and the future is uncertain. So Treasury have to make a range of assumptions, things like commodity prices, inflation, unemployment, and so on. As these expectations change over time, how much the government expects it will receive in income tax or pay in social security payments will also change. When you dig into the papers, the decisions the government have taken in this budget add just over $30 billion to this deficit. However, the impact of parameter and other variations, their assumptions, reduce the deficit by approximately $115 billion. Is this $115 billion improvement to the fiscal bottom line due to the decisions the federal government has previously made, which are now bearing fruit? Or are they just being lucky? Or is it a mixture of the two? I'm not sure. What do you think? One of the interesting facts about Australian federal government receipt generation is how dependent it is on personal income tax. Now bear with me here, as there are a few figures that we need to delve into. In the last full year of the Labor government, 2012 to 2013, the federal government collected a total of $351 billion. Of this, income tax on individuals accounted for 44.5%, or $156 billion, while income tax on companies accounted for only 19.1%, or $67 billion. For the last full year prior to the world ending, 2018-19, federal government receipts had increased by 41% to $493 billion, with income tax on individuals increasing by 46% to $228 billion, whilst income tax on companies increased by 41% to $95 billion. The impact on COVID saw total receipts drop by 4.9% in the first year, with the drop primarily focused on companies. Tax receipts from companies dropped 10.5%. However, individual tax receipts only dropped 2.9%. These drops quickly reversed, and the expectation for this year is that total receipts to the government will be nearly $557 billion, or 13% higher pre-pandemic. Total income tax from individuals will be $252 billion, and total income tax from companies will be $109 billion. It's from here that it gets interesting. The government expects that the income tax take from individuals will increase from $252 billion this year to over $308 billion by 25-26. This is a 22% increase. However, the take from corporate income tax will increase from $109.1 billion to $109.6 billion, a 0.5% increase. So whilst the government sells its budget measures as a way to deal with the increases of the cost of living, it seems to be more than recouping this through an increase in personal income tax collection. This doesn't seem to be happening for companies. Budgets are inherently political documents at the best of times, and with an election just around the corner, it's no surprise this one contained a variety of sweeteners. From the reduction in fuel excise to the cost of living offset, they're trying to splash the cash. And on this point, Budget Paper 2, Budget Measures, is relevant. For those that don't spend your days idly flipping through the budget papers, this document provides an overview of the impact of all the new things that the government is doing or will do since MyEFO in December 21. Drilling into Budget Paper 2 and looking at the bottom line of the expense measures tables, there is an indication that the government may be holding something in reserve for the election. The government has announced over $31.5 billion in new spending measures. However, if we look more closely, they have an interesting line item. Decisions taken but not yet announced and not for publication. For this year, with 3 months left, there is nearly $1 billion listed here, and next year it's another $1.5 billion. So the government has approximately $2.5 billion in spending they know that they're doing, but they haven't yet announced. Also interestingly, for the remaining 3 years, there are nearly $3 billion in spending cuts. While some of this could be not for publication measures, what do you think? Some big spending items coming up in time for the next election? Who knows? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And that's it for me today. I hope you found this one useful. I'm enjoying working out how to make videos in a different style, but it is a learning curve. If you'd like to support the channel, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video, and also happy to get suggestions on ideas for future videos. Cheers.